welcome to Criminalist Behavior Podcast, the podcast that takes you deep into the heart of Louisiana's history and current, most chilling true crime stories. I'll guide you through the darkness of these crimes and all of those involved. Each week, we dig deep on those forgotten crimes or those crimes currently happening with the underlying legends that continue to haunt us. So lean in, listen, and get ready, because true crime is anything but ordinary. Stay with me as we unravel what happened in these mysteries. Okay, so today we're on season 2, episode number 2, and this is going to be part 2 of the Bourbon Street attack. As you know, this happened on New Year's Day of this year, 2025. And if this is your first time listening, hi, my name is Sarah S2E2, and I'm your host for Criminalist Behavior Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the show, and I hope you enjoy it. So, trigger warning. This episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including sexual violence or physical violence against adults, children, and animals. Listener discretion is advised. So I'm going to do a little quick recap, but Samsa Din Jabbar is the individual charged with inciting a terrorist attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans. And he actually ran through Bourbon Street in his truck with an ISIS flag on the back of the tailgate, and he literally ran over 14 people, killing them. He injured like 35 or more. I mean, there's still victims that are still coming out till this day in reference to being affected by this. The first victim is 26-year-old Andrew Dolphin. He was from Montgomery, Alabama. Second victim is Kareem Badawi, 23 years old, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 43-year-old Brandon Taylor was from Harvey, Louisiana. Hubert Gautreaux, 21, was from Gretna, Louisiana. Matthew Tenadario was 25 years old, and he was from Picayune, Mississippi. Nakaira Detto was 18 years old, and she was from Gulfport, Mississippi. Nicole Perez, 27 years old, was from Metairie, Louisiana. 37-year-old Reggie Hunter was from Prairieville, Louisiana. Martin Beck, at just age 27, was from New York City, New York. And Terrence Kennedy was 63 years old from New Orleans, Louisiana. Elliot Wilkinson, 40 years old, from Slidell, Louisiana. William DeMayo, 25, from Holmdel, New Jersey. Edward Piper, 31 years old, from London, United Kingdom. And Latasha Pope, 45 years old, and she was from New Orleans, Louisiana. So, we also had a mother calling in reference to her son. She hasn't heard anything from her son, and this is where we're at. So, now that you're caught up, I'm going to go over the suspect on this episode and any other additional details. I will also, later on down the line, once everything settles, go over all the victims and how they were impacted with this. So that'll be the victim statement episode that I'll be going with for another episode. So the suspect, Samsa Din Jabbar, 42 years old, was a veteran of the United States Army. He enlisted in 2006, and he dedicated 9 years to active service as an administrative clerk, including deployment to Afghanistan in 2009. He received an honorable discharge in 2020, as confirmed by an Army spokesperson. Court and property records indicate that Jabbar resided in Fresno, Texas, which is approximately 20 miles south of Houston. And he was residing with his wife until he lost their home during their divorce in August of 2022. So from 2019 to 2023, Samsa held a real estate license, and he was employed by Deloitte, one of the largest financial service firms in the country. And he also acclimated a significant credit card and other debts as detailed in other court documents. So Samsa resided in a mobile home in North Houston approximately 2 years before he informed his landlord about relocating to New Orleans, and that was about a month ago. As stated by the landlord during an interview, the landlord stated that he was taken aback. He was genuinely taken aback. He even cried and his landlord's name was Asia Merriam, and the landlord stated the following. He was supposed to hand over the key to the new tenant, and the landlord inquired with Jabbar whether or not he actually handed that key over or not, and that's when Jabbar informed him that he was headed to New Orleans and he would return to drop off his belongings. And Asia noted that Jabbar had never caused any issues for her or the neighbors and consistently paid his rent in cash on time each month. And she also mentioned that she had recently received an inquiry regarding his rental history from the potential landlord in New Orleans, Louisiana. And according to Asia, Samsud worked from home, although she was unaware of the specifics of his profession. He informed her that he intended to maintain his current job, but would be collaborating with different clients upon moving to New Orleans. So, if he had started to engage with extremist ideologies during a time of seclusion, he did not seem to disclose that information publicly. His online presence was just very minimal, and he consisted mainly of an active company's website and a YouTube video he uploaded 4 years prior to promote his real estate endeavors. So, Abdur Jabbar, 24 years old, was Samsud's brother, and he informed in an interview that he was the brother of the suspect, and he described Samsud as being an intelligent, compassionate, and someone who embraced Islam at a very early age. And in a statement that Abdur stated, he said, however, his actions do not reflect the teachings of Islam. This is more indicative of radicalization rather than a true representation of the faith. So, the current partner of Jabbar's former wife also shared that outside the residence in Houston, that Jabbar had been practicing Islam and had started an exhibit erratic behavior. And he mentioned that Jabbar had 2 daughters. Now, Samsud was raised in Texas, and he pursued a career in real estate after getting out of the Army. He was known as a reserved child during his school years, coming from a Muslim family that enforced very strict academic expectations. And Dean, an old childhood friend who was from the Beaumont area, stated that Jabbar was exceptionally intelligent, and he had impressive performance on standardized tests, which most kids struggle on those standardized tests. They get nervous, real nervous, and they end up flunking it or just barely pass it. But following Samsud's parents' divorce, while they were still in school, Samsud became involved with a local Christian church. After graduating high school, he attended the University of Houston for a short period on an academic scholarship, but ultimately he withdrew due to poor academic performance. And the university representatives did not respond to any inquiries that were trying to interview them. So, Samsud transitioned into his career as a real estate agent, and he released a promotional video on YouTube in 2021 to advertise his real estate business. And within that video, he emphasized that the customer service at his real estate firm is grounded in principles he acquired during his time in the military. He indicated that he dedicated a decade to serving as a human resources and IT specialist within the military. Now, a person with the same name attended Georgia State University from 2005 to 2017, where he earned a degree in computer information systems, according to the university. And a representative from the Deloitte real estate firm confirmed that Samsud was employed by the firm in 2021. And a representative from the Deloitte real estate firm stated this following statement. We are deeply troubled by the reports today regarding the individual identified as a suspect and any connection to our organization. Like everyone else, we are appalled by this disgraceful and senseless act of violence and are committed to supporting the authorities in their investigation. So the childhood friend Dean expressed that he was really astonished once he heard the news that Samsud did this crazy act of terrorism down Bourbon Street. And he had not been in contact with Samsud for over 10 years, but he was aware that Samsud operated a real estate business and he was married. And Dean said in another statement, he was a reserved individual. He never engaged in conflicts. He was just quite attractive. Many girls were fond of him. But divorce documents would indicate that Samsud faced a lot of financial difficulties. According to the divorce filings, Samsud's ex-wife, Shanine McDaniel, claimed that he mismanaged their finances through excessive cash withdrawals, gifts to paramours, and unreasonable and unnecessary spending, which led to a large amount of debt. So, in a correspondence included with the divorce documents, Samsud stated in February 2022 that he could no longer meet his mortgage obligations, which were overdue by $27,000, y'all. He also acclimated $16,000 in credit card debt to cover housing costs, legal fees, and other expenses, as he reported. Dude, $27,000 in mortgage obligations? Like, do they even let you get that freaking high? Shit, I know that bank be calling like, okay, you're 5 days late. What the hell is going on? How you get $27,000 in the hole? And then $16,000 credit card debt? Holy moly. But Samsud transitioned and he released a promotional video and a judge subsequently mandated that Samsud reimburse McDaniel for a portion of the outstanding debt that he incurred while they were married. Lawrence, Jabbar's father-in-law from his recent marriage in Texas, stated his family had not been in contact with Samsud, and he mentioned that he had not yet been approached by law enforcement and chose not to provide any further comments. And Lawrence stated the following statement: I find it hard to accept all of this. Which, I can understand that. Like, you really think you know someone, and then you turn on the freaking news, and this person's face is splattered all over on this horrendous act that they did, and, I mean, complete and utter shock I can understand, because this is completely out of character. Unless he was just, like, fooling everyone, right? So the FBI was conducting an investigation into all the travels and whereabouts that Samsud was doing prior to this attack on Bourbon. And they focused on his trips to Egypt and Canada in the months leading up to the incident. So they also found that he had prior visits to New Orleans in October, in the fall, obviously, and there was recent purchases at gun stores in Texas. So Samsud bin Jabbar visited Cairo, Egypt during the summer of 2023, where he embarked on a 12-day journey. And this followed by a 3-day trip to Ontario, Canada. Additionally, he made 2 visits to New Orleans in the fall preceding the attack. Now, I'm going to stop right there right quick. If you hear my cat just going haywire, he's on one, y'all. And I am recording this in my home office, but he's got to be stuck on my butt. But disregard all the or any crazy things that y'all might hear. It's just my cat going crazy. He's striving for attention right now, and I don't know what's going on. So, yeah, just bear with. So, for 2 days in October, there was a video released from the FBI that showed Samsud cycling through the French Quarter on Halloween. And it looked like he was surveying the area while wearing a pair of meta glasses. And he returned to New Orleans on November 10th, as stated by an FBI agent. And initially, the FBI indicated that Samsud was collaborating with others to orchestrate this whole attack. However, they later revised that statement, stating that they believed he acted alone. Now, FBI Deputy Assistant Director Christopher Raya stated that he was preparing a statement that evidence continues to suggest that Samsud operated without any accomplices. Now, Raya was representing the agency's counterterrorism division in the FBI. So, he was up there in that FBI, y'all. So, the authorities were, and still are, seeking out and reaching out to anyone who may have interacted with Samsud during these travels, and they were going to consider them potential witnesses. Not a suspect, but just a witness, just to see, if he was acting out of character, any suspicious behavior, all of that. So the reasons behind Samsud's selection of New Orleans as the location for the attack really remain ambiguous. And an agent from the ATF states that the explosive materials that was discovered on Samsud and at his residence provided evidence of his lack of experience in the assembly and application of explosives. So just because he was in the military, he didn't really know about the explosives and all that dynamic. As you heard, he was part of human resources and IT, not in the bomb making area. So in the days following the attack, ATF investigators conducted different field tests on those materials that they found. Officials noted that New Orleans police officers were delayed in their response, stating that Samsud might have been able to detonate explosive devices positioned at 2 locations along the intended path of destruction, utilizing a transmitter, because there was a transmitter that was found in that rented Ford F-150 truck that Samsud drove down Bourbon Street. So FBI Special Agent Charge informed and reporters that the transmitter would have operated effectively had it not been for the actions of certain police officers that acted rather quickly during this whole ordeal. So the FBI details events that transpired on New Year's Day at 1:53 a.m. when Samsud placed the first improvised explosive device, aka IED, inside a blue ice chest. Now, this ice chest had a little lift-up handle, and it was on the wheels, and he was casually seen on different cameras just walking through, rolling this ice chest. And then you can see him just leaving it in those 2 different locations. So it was literally discovered a block away on Arlene Street, and after unsuspecting visitors to Bourbon Street, it was actually picked up by the handle and then relocated in a different area. Approximately 30 minutes later at 2:23 a.m., Samsud positioned a second IED cooler. It was a bucket-style cooler, though, at the intersection of Bourbon and Toulouse Streets. At 3:15 a.m., he accelerated at a fast speed down Bourbon Street, striking anyone in his path with his truck. And officials have indicated that Samsud was motivated by the Islamic State terrorist organization. However, the exact details of that connection to the group are still being examined. According to the officials, the FBI maintains that Samsud acted independently, orchestrating on the New Year's attack down Bourbon. So FBI Deputy Assistant Director Raya stated that lone actors and small groups of individuals who radicalize online currently represent the most significant terror threat to our homeland. Law enforcement authorities retrieved a pair of meta glasses, and I did mention that a little earlier, but if you're unaware, meta glasses are referred to smart glasses because they could actually record video, make phone calls, and provide various other functionalities. And Samsud had these meta glasses on his body following his death in a confrontation with the police. Had the police officers in New Orleans not acted promptly to neutralize the situation, he may have activated those IEDs strategically placed on the surrounding streets by Bourbon, and it could have literally resulted in a greater devastation. Because if you've been watching the news in regards to this whole attack, you would see that there's buildings that were collapsing, the place that he was staying at literally caught fire. Like, there's a lot of things that were happening, and they were trying to connect it, see if it was connected to Samsud. You know what I'm saying? So we just going to keep digging in to see what more information we could gather to see if this is all connected. Investigators discovered a transmitter that was in the F-150 truck, and upon Samsud flying down Bourbon Street, striking everyone in his path with his truck, The truck collided with a parked crane, at which point Samsa then got out his truck and started trying to open fire on everyone around him, including police officers, who were quickly returning the fire and fatally wounded Samsa. So the authorities stated that the officers were supposedly delayed in their response, but Samsa might have been able to detonate those explosive devices had he placed the detonator in his hand if the cops wouldn't have reacted in the way they did. So some people are a little contradiction on that, saying that the police shouldn't have shot and killed him. I mean, the motherfucker just ran down a shitload of people down Bourbon Street at full fucking speed, but you want to have the audacity to say, why did you fucking shoot him? What? He killed 14 people, injured 35 or more people. I mean, no. Get your shit together. Like, hell no. So, law enforcement authorities indicated that they believed that at first, like I said, Samsa had accomplices, but now they're really leaning more that he acted alone. So 2 pipe bombs were discovered in the French Quarter. That's the one that was in the blue cooler and the one in the bucket-like cooler. And federal officials were investigating the potential connections between Samsa and the terrorist organizations, while also cautioning that international conflicts may have repercussions within the United States. So, Samsa Dan Jabbar, who was 18 years older than his younger brother, reestablished contact with him during the summer of 2023. And this was following their father's stroke that actually led him to be hospitalized in Houston. So Samsa's father was hospitalized due to having a stroke, and Samsa had actually made regular visits to his family in Beaumont. However, a few months later, in the fall area of 2023, he actually stopped all communication entirely, only later to be identified as the person who did this terrorist attack down Bourbon Street. So, it's been damn near a year, a little over a year, without contact from Samsa, and then now they see his face plastered all over the damn TV with this act of terrorism. So, Jabbar's family and childhood acquaintances and witnesses to the horrifying events on the Bourbon Street are seeking clarity regarding the circumstances surrounding why Samsa was silenced months before, right? And the family is actually left questioning how this middle-aged Army veteran, employed as an IT professional and a real estate agent at Deloitte Real Estate Agency, and known by neighbors for his reserved and gentle demeanor, could have pledged allegiance to the ISIS group and planted explosives at the French Quarter and just crazy-ass attack down Bourbon after traveling 350 miles from his residence in Texas. So, Abdur, his younger brother, finds himself perplexed, much like many others who were acquainted with Samsa, and Abdur stated that his brother was full of compassion. Like, he just doesn't understand what changed in his brother to make him want to do this. He expressed his bewilderment regarding the circumstances that might have led his brother to express support for ISIS. And authorities are continuing to investigate the factors that may have contributed to the New Orleans radicalization, and the question that remains unanswered even for Samsa's family members. So, Abdur Rahim Jabbar IV, 24, from Beaumont, is younger sibling of Samsa, and he recounted that the last time he saw his brother was during the previous summer. And the following statement was released by Abdur. He was calm, loving, humorous, intelligent, compassionate, and charismatic. I admired him greatly. I'm sure he was up until this point. At least I want to believe he is. But, I mean, after him doing this, like, I don't know what there is to admire about him. Honestly. Something clicked in Samsud's mind that made him want to do this. And this is just wrong. Crazy. Like, no. I will never be able to understand this. And you can't tell me that you still admire him unless you're plotting with his ass. You know what I'm saying? So, his brother mentioned that he first learned of his brother's alleged connection to the New Orleans incident several hours after it happened. Throughout his life, Samsud bin Jabbar faced various challenges, and according to his brother, he enlisted in the army in an effort to cultivate greater discipline after he was indulging in a lifestyle of excessive partying at the University of Houston. So Samsud was a partier. Like most people who start college, they go and they party. Me? Hell no, I wasn't about that party type in all the colleges that I went to because I got too many damn degrees. But no, I was not at all about that party life. Mainly because I probably partied too much at an early age, right? So no, the partying was not for me, and I was literally focused to the books, get it done, right, as fast as possible, and make good grades, obviously. But Jabbar was not that person, and documentation indicates that he struggled with issues related to his divorce and financial difficulties. However, his brother stated that Samsud seemed generally content with his life as recently as a few months prior to this whole ordeal. And following their father's stroke, Samsud would reach out approximately at least one time a month, maybe more, but at least they would hear from him at least once a month. And his brother said that he would inquire if we required assistance with anything, whether it was help around the house or just checking in. And his brother recalled lately that he didn't receive any type of communication from Samsud. So in the months leading up to the attack on Bourbon, it appeared that Q maintained contact with Samsud, a time frame that has become a significant inquiry during which he seemingly transformed into this horrible individual who displayed an ISIS flag on his truck and shared videos on social media vowing to eliminate the unbelievers. Over the past year, he uploaded recordings to the SoundCloud, an online music platform where he denounced music as Satan's voice. And he stated that a sign of the end of times would be when Muslims no longer regarded listening to music as sinful. So investigators started examining the factors that led Jabbar to be influenced by the ISIS and adopt a distorted interpretation of the Islam community. And the ideology has been denounced by his Muslim family and friends. Now, FBI agent Rhea stated this week that federal authorities will focus on uncovering Samsud's path to radicalization in the days ahead. So, Abdul Rahim Jabbar, 24-year-old little bro, asserted that the attack fundamentally contradicts all principles of Islam. This unequivocally extremism and radicalization. It is not part of the Islam community. It represents a perverse understanding of Islam, if that. So the FBI raided the mobile home of Samsud, and they were just tracking down all his movements and where he stayed. And in his neighborhood of Houston, there's actually pictures of that I'll be posting as well. You can see them raiding his home. Now, his home was well maintained, very kept, like an OCD person, right? Like nothing out of place. And there was actually news crews whose cameras were directed toward Samsud's mobile home. There were stray cats and dogs that were wandering around the area, and after the FBI completed their search of the resident, the front door was actually left open because they busted that front door down. They busted it off the hinges, y'all. And they actually discovered precursor chemicals associated with bomb making when they entered the home in Houston, as well as at the Airbnb where he stayed at in New Orleans prior to this attack. The floorboards near the entrance have been ripped up, and a bookshelf containing religious texts, including the Bible, the Quran, and the Art of Islamic Banking and Finance, was duly noted in the mobile home. So the police operation in a small working class neighborhood on the outskirts of America's fourth largest city were just startled, and a neighbor who introduced himself as Khan noted that most individuals in the area tend to keep to themselves, although there are several Muslim families alongside of some Christians that actually collaborated with one another. Samsud had a sizable desk that he seemed to serve as his workplace for remote IT tasks. And Khan, the neighbor, stated the following: "Nobody knows him. He was a very quiet individual." So Samsud faced challenges in adapting to life after military. His journey began in Beaumont, where classmates described him as a high achiever who was well regarded, despite a strict upbringing. Because if you remember, he was brought up in a strict religious household. And everything that you hear about crime, murders, and all this usually leads back to the home in their childhood, and either a religious home, they got abused and they're just repeating the abuse, they're not breaking the cycle. This is what's happening with Samsud. His brother turned out fine. I mean, as of right now, at 24 years old, what the fuck happened to Samsud, right? So, according to his younger brother, their father hailed from Mamou, although he mentioned that the family did not spend significant time in Louisiana during their childhood. Public records indicated that Samsud's grandparents were actually born in Louisiana, and they resided in the heart of Acadiana Parish with familial connections to Velplot, Evangeline, Kinder, and other surrounding areas. Many individuals from that generation in Acadiana, particularly the Black Creoles, migrated to Louisiana from Louisiana to Texas, and they were actually searching for employment, and mostly it's the oil field. So Samsud's father, originally named Masterson Young, adopted the name Abdal Rahim Jabbar upon him converting to the Islam community. So Samsud's childhood friends recounted a typical upbringing characterized by music and academic pursuits. However, Samsud faced significant challenges during his early college years. In 2001 is whenever he withdrew from the University of Houston and made that an unsuccessful attempt enlisting into the Navy. The following year, he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor theft in Harris County, and this resulted in him having to pay a $100 fine and a 9-month deferred jail sentence. And in 2006, that's when Samsud decided to enlist in the Army. He married 2 years later, and over a decade, he served as a human resource and information technology specialist, including his deployment in Afghanistan in 2009. After his divorce from his first wife in 2012, yes, he was married more than once, he married his second wife the following year. In 2012, after he initiated the divorce proceedings, his first wife actually had to file a lawsuit against him regarding child support because they did have 2 daughters. The court subsequently mandated that he pay increasing amounts as his income was getting higher and higher over the years. So child support goes by your income. And as Samsud was working, he kept making more and more money, which therefore raised more and more child support payments. So, the case was ultimately dismissed in 2022. By 2015, he retired from the Navy active duty and he transitioned to the Army Reserve and enrolled at Georgia State University. This is where he started encountering difficulties in adjusting to the civilian life outside of the military. And in 2015, which is apparently a badass year for Samsud, he actually admitted to guilty charges associated with driving under the influence while stationed at Fort Bragg, which was a military base in North Carolina. But now it's actually referred to as Fort Liberty. But the records indicated that Samsud was under the influence of a substance that impaired his ability to drive in November of 2014, with a recorded blood alcohol concentration exceeding the legal limit. Additionally, it was noted that he was operating a vehicle open container of alcohol after having consumed the alcohol beverages. Jabbar faced a level 5 DWI charge, which, yeah, I didn't know there was different levels of DWI. Either it's a DUI or DWI. That's all I know. Because, you know what? I've never been charged with that shit. And I don't drink. So, yeah. Not saying I never did drink because Lord knows I had my party days. But, yeah. Just doesn't interest me anymore. Who likes to feel fucked up? Like, no. I'm getting old, though. So, I guess maybe it comes with age. 38, 39. I don't even know how old I am. Yeah. I don't need that to alter me. But anyways, Samsa faced a level 5 DWI charge, which is the least severe classification of the offense in North Carolina. See, I was going to think that was a high one. But the documents further revealed that his driver's license was actually suspended and he was placed on probation for 12 months, fined $200, and he actually was required to complete 24 hours of community service. During interviews, reporters stated that Samsa had a great appearance and a sharp suit, and he was very articulate. He had a very thoughtful manner whenever he spoke. His deliberate speech patterns were actually influenced by his desire to move away from a communication style filled with military jargon and acronyms. He possessed a penetrating gaze, as described by several journalists whenever they were talking about him. So the discussions with Samsa were part of a story addressing the challenges that veterans face when they actually transition to civilian life and to college life. And Samsa expressed concern over a veteran support system that he felt allowed him to slip through the cracks, highlighting the burden nature of the Department of the VA's paperwork and the lack of resources available to help reintegrate him into civilian society. Which, y'all, I've dealt with that for a little bit of time. And I mean a little bit of time. I'm going with like 2 years having to deal with that with my children's father. The VA is fucking hectic. Like, they make it hard as hell to get any type of fucking help. And it's ridiculous. Like, it don't take much for you to sign your life over to enlist into there to protect the country. But once you get out, it's like they say, the hell with you. And that is just completely wrong, because there are several people that have to deal with the PTSD or trying to adapt to the civilian life, and then they either can't take it and commit suicide, or they go on a fucking rampage. And apparently Samsa took the rampage route, right? So Samsa actually aimed to assist others trying to stay clear of similar misfortunes and just to deal with the whole ordeal of the civilian life. He faced several difficulties, and he wished others to avoid those challenges that he was facing. And this exemplified a quality of leadership towards people who were surrounded by Samsa. Keenan was a person who created an article for the Georgia State Signal, and he's actually a stringer now for the New York Times, but he stated that Sabar was not contemplated for many years. His image was prominently featured on national news in a very bad manner that was not suited as the normal Samsa after this whole horrible attack down Bourbon. And Keenan stated the following: "I could hardly recognize him. The photographer present that day for the Signal, Georgia State newspaper, I have no idea what transpired within Samsa." So Samsa completed his college education, and he would actually be married a total of 3 times, y'all. Nonetheless, there was indication that he intermittently practiced Islam throughout his life and also attended Christian church during his childhood, and he just was going down a downward spiral. In October 2015, Samsa, a 33-year-old college student at Georgia State University, was engaged with reporters from the college newspaper regarding the difficulties veterans were facing adapting to the academic life after being enlisted. Samsa was always dressed sharp. He always wore a suit, and all of his thoughts were articulate and deliberate, measured phrases, and he was influenced by his intention to move away from the military jargon he had become accustomed to during his service in the U.S. Army. His aim was to assist fellow veterans in navigating these challenges. And in 2016, he experienced another divorce by a third marriage, and that marriage ended in 2017. That same year, he earned his college degree in computer information systems and established a property management firm in the Houston area known as the Blue Metal Properties. In promotional materials for the company, he emphasized his core values upheld by a team for the following: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. He resided in Fresno, a suburb of Houston, with his new wife, and together they lived in a 2-story brick home situated in the tranquil neighborhood of Cambridge Falls. And Cambridge Falls actually featured amenities such as a community pool, playground, and retention ponds along the streets. They welcomed a son into their family, and this would make Samson a 3-time father. So he had 2 daughters from his first marriage, and now he has a son from his third marriage. Y'all, I can't even imagine what his kids would be going through. Like this, nobody really actually takes the time to think about what happened to the family, right? Because everybody's worried about the victims, which, I mean, I understand 100% because the victims need their justice and need their honor. But how this affects the family, because it leaves a mark. It does. They didn't raise their son to be this whole horrible ass person, and now the freaking kids gotta live without a father and know that their father is a fucking terrorist, y'all. Oh my god, I can't. Like, those values that he was speaking on for his real estate company, the loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. Where the fuck was that whenever you flying down Bourbon Street and then had a shootout with the fucking police? Where were you then with those core values, right? So, in 2020, a judge in Texas actually had to issue a restraining order against Samson for the benefit of his second wife amid their divorce. Even though Samson married his third wife, he was still going ape shit on his second wife. And that particular restraining order prohibited Samson from making threats, inflicting physical harm, or engaging in any other specified conduct towards his ex-wife and their children. It also required her to refrain from similar actions. And in her submission, Samson's ex-wife indicated that the marriage had become insupportable due to discord or a conflict of personalities. Samson had a history of legal issues, as Harris County court records revealed that he pled guilty to that misdemeanor theft and that DUI, right? So in 2020, this is when Samson was honorably discharged from the military, and he actually was holding the rank of staff sergeant and began working at the real estate agency in 2021 in Deloitte. However, there would be challenges that would actually come to affect him. His business suffered a loss exceeding $28,000 because, why? He didn't know how to manage his money. He was smart, he was intelligent, but what the fuck was happening with his finances? So he attempted to launch 2 additional companies, and they were unsuccessful. He acclimated significant credit card debt, and his wife accused him in legal documents of extravagant spending and infidelity. So you was living outside your means. You was being a whore on the fucking streets, and she got tired of that shit, right? Because who wants to deal with that? She initiated divorce in 2021, at which point he owed them, the creditors, y'all, $41,000. $41,000. Oh my god. What? So, in recent years, Samson had seemingly faced significant financial difficulties, and in an email from January 2022 that was part of the divorce proceedings, he expressed his inability to make the mortgage payment on his home, which indicated was over $27,000 overdue, and he was facing foreclosure, y'all. And he was trying to postpone the settlement of the divorce because he couldn't afford it. Well, quit living outside your means and you wouldn't have to worry about that, right? So, additionally, Samson mentioned in an email that Blue Metal Properties had suffered a loss of approximately $28,000 the previous year, and that other ventures he had established held no monetary value. He also reported acclimating around $16,000 in that credit card debt. Following the divorce, he located to a modest trailer located 40 minutes away in the northern part of the city. He discovered the rental through a Facebook listing by landlord Asia. And according to Asia, he consistently paid his rent in cash and informed her about a month prior to the attack that he was moving to New Orleans. So, Samson leased a vehicle, that F-150, right? He secured the truck. It was actually specifically a Ford F-150 Lightning electric truck, which I can't even fathom electric trucks, but what the hell ever. I live in the old age, right? These electric vehicles, no ma'am. No ma'am, don't think so. But he rented this truck through the car rental platform called Turo. And the facility vehicle rentals for Turo are actually private owners that actually release their vehicles to be rented out. Yeah. The whole crazy part about this whole thing, this particular F-150 Lightning truck, aka electric ass truck, was for a sheriff in Texas that leased his truck through the Turo services. This motherfucker took the sheriff's personal vehicle through the Turo app and rented it out to demolish it in this terrorist attack down Bourbon Street. What? Huh? What? Thought that was crazy as shit. What are the odds of that? You got a sheriff's truck and you're driving down Bourbon Street full speed? What? I can't believe that. On December 30th, Samson collected the truck and traveled from Houston to New Orleans. The following day, as stated by FBI agent Rhea, and a neighbor of Samson in Houston, Bashir, recounted that he observed Samson loading the truck on the morning of December 31st, during which Samson mentioned he was going to be moving to New Orleans for a new employment opportunity. And Bashir made the following statement. I inquired if he required assistance with the move, offering my help as a friendly neighbor. And according to Bashir, Samson stated that he didn't need no help, he was okay. But Bashir said that he actually observed Samson packing rather light portable items, and he didn't think that he was actually making a permanent move. He thought he was just gonna stay there for a little while because it didn't seem like he was moving all of his shit from Houston, right? So Bashir expressed his shock and profound sadness regarding the attack, characterizing Samson as a pleasant yet reserved individual who just kept to himself. And he stated that he had never perceived any indication suggesting that Samson had been radicalized. He didn't get that persona from him. The rental platform has also been associated with a separate incident in Las Vegas. Now, at the same time, this whole Bourbon Street attack, not very long after, literally, I think it was like 2 days later, if you recall, there was a Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Cali, right? And according to police reports, the driver of the Cybertruck died within the explosion. And authorities thought that attack in Cali and the attack here in Bourbon and these other random crazy shit happening may have been connected with one another. Authorities have yet to disclose the identity of the driver that was actually driving the Tesla Cybertruck, and they're actually investigating the possibility of it being another terrorist attack, right? So by the time Samson launched his assault on Bourbon Street, the FBI reported that he uploaded a series of videos. In these videos, he indicated that his initial intention was to inflict harm on his family and friends. However, he expressed his concern that it wouldn't actually emphasize the war between the believers and the non-believers. Furthermore, Samson claimed to have joined ISIS prior to the summer and provided a will and testament. And the FBI stated that his actions were undoubtedly influenced by the ISIS terrorist group, and they refrained from confirming his affiliation. In recent years, the terrorist group has experienced a decline, and there has been a trend of individuals who associate themselves with extremist groups, but they actually act independently. So, Asia, the landlord in Texas, recounted receiving a call from a potential landlord in New Orleans inquiring about Samsud's rental history. He had not returned to hand over the key to the new tenants, and she recalled that the new place that Jabbar was trying to get in New Orleans was pretty much asking what type of tenant, Samsud was. And she told him that he was a good, quiet individual, always paid on time, right? So Abdur, Jabbar's brother, stated that they were both raised in a Christian faith, but the 42-year-old Samsud started practicing Muslim for the remainder of his life. And they stated that the last communication between the brothers occurred in mid-December, during which Samsud did not mention any plans to travel to New Orleans. And according to Chris, a former classmate of Samsud who reestablished contact to Samsud in 2015, he said that the attack was very much unexpected. He also made the statement, "This is a complete departure from the quiet, reserved individual I once knew." He was never a troublemaker, and he actually highlighted Samsud's academic success and, his known dressing well in button-up shirts, polo attire, suits, you know what I'm saying? He always had this good business-like attire, very professional, very, very, what you wouldn't expect a terrorist to be, okay? But, hello! You can't judge a book by its cover. I've always said that. You don't judge a book by its cover because you never know what the fuck that person is. Person could look like a horrible-ass person, be the nicest soul on earth. Person could look like a nice soul on earth, but oh my god, hell no, right? So, Chris stated that he recalled that Samsud frequently shared posts about his faith over social media, and it wasn't never to the extremist content, nor did he ever threaten violence on anyone, but it was evident that he actually had a strong passion for his beliefs. Now, Samsud was a father to a 6-year-old son and 2 daughters aged 15 and 20. He divorced his first wife, Nikidra Charles Marsh, in 2012, and he remarried after that divorce, and he separated from his second wife. And Dwayne Marsh, the current husband of Samsud's ex-wife, informed that he was prohibited from seeing his daughters due to increasing erratic behavior in the recent months. In addition, a former neighbor of Samsud in Houston shared that he actually assisted her with her groceries. He was no terrorist in her eyes, and Samsud resided in an apartment below Miss Marilyn, the 70-year-old who he helped with groceries, from 2021 to 2023, in which time he gifted her a dryer, cleaning supplies, and she said that she remembers making a remark to him, "Oh, you giving me something to remember you by." And apparently Samsud laughed, and she recounted he was somewhat of an outcast. I was the only person he truly spoke with, and I used to call him my buddy. So he actually was reportedly inspired by ISIS and had a desire to kill. President Joe Biden stated, "I know while this person committed a terrible assault on the city, the spirit of our New Orleans will never, never, never be defeated. It will always shine forth." In a collection of videos, the individual accounted for this whole assault, Samsud, spoke about his intentions and recounted dreams that motivated him to align with ISIS. And he actually there were signs, y'all. There were signs, but they were very subtle signs. And unless you was looking for it, you wouldn't have seen it. So they had videos that were uploaded to Samsud's Facebook page at 1:29 a.m. and 3:02 a.m. that New Year's Day, right? In addition, he was killed during that whole confrontation with the police. And y'all, I kid you not, Samsud was so good, like, before this whole ordeal, he actually received medals for his overseas military service and Afghanistan deployment. And he received numerous other military awards. Remember, he got out being a staff sergeant, which is a pretty good rank, right? And through they indicate honorable service to include multiple Army Commendation medals and Army Good Conduct medals, y'all. He served from 2007 to 2020, and he left as a staff sergeant. So, the items that were found in his truck were a 12-gauge semi-automatic shotgun, a .357 Magnum pistol, and a CZ-52 pistol. And apparently, to one of the shotgun listings, it stated, "Great for sending home invaders to hell." So it remains uncertain when all of these listings and all of this stuff was actually bought and stuff, but the armless has not yet provided a response to inquiries regarding this whole ordeal and the purchases. His family is also striving to comprehend where he may have went wrong. Samsud was born and raised in Beaumont, and his brother, along with their father, Raheem, expressed their inability to reconcile the attack with the gentle, soft-spoken individual they have always known. He was always even-tempered and slow to anger. That is why it's so astonishing that he could be capable of such heinous act. And during his military service, Samsud stated in a 2020 YouTube video where he promoted himself as a real estate agent that the essence of exceptional service and importance of being attentive ensured every detail is addressed meticulously to guarantee a seamless process. And that video has since then been removed. In the recording, he was positioned beside a framed poster prominently displaying the word discipline and adjacent to a book that was titled Leadership. So, many people, whenever this was happening, like, y'all, there was one video where, I kid you not, you could see Samsud flying down Bourbon Street, and this one girl, like, barely missed being hit by the truck, y'all. Oh my god, I'm like, ooh! Y'all, the shit was horrible. I don't recommend that you watch that, because, oh my god, it is so horrible. I kid you not. There's several pictures. I think they blurred them out, or they may be taken down, but I'm sure if you dig deep enough, if you wanted to. My god, these pictures are horrific. There is one where you could see the bodies just lying. You could see that there was officers trying to perform CPR on these people. You could see one where there's a hand and there's tendons attached. You could see brain matter, brains just scattered up. Bruh. The most horrendous sight ever. I kid you not. And they were just out celebrating the new year. Ringing in the new fucking year. Y'all. Like, that shit is chaotic. I don't give a damn. If you like blood and gore or whatever, yeah. This shit, you can't even dream of, you can't even think this shit up at how horrible it was. So, the individual, aka Samsud, appeared to undergo significant transformations as he started developing a beard, he increased his weight, and he faced allegations of being involved in one of the most lethal terrorist attacks of American territory since September 11, 2001. And according to LSP, aka Louisiana State Police, there were pipe bombs that was discovered. Samsud actually had a IED thing around his neck. He was in a camouflage bulletproof vest with his military pants and boots on whenever he was fatally shot and killed with a shootout with the police. And they retrieved the AR-style rifle and handgun from the vehicle and the ISIS flag on a trailer hitch. So they actually had video footage showing there were 3 men and a woman involved placing one of the several improvised IEDs related to the car attack. So that's why they really thought that they were all in cahoots with one another, because they had videos suggesting that. But It could have been just like you're drunk and shit, and you might have thought that was your cooler, and you over here grabbing and shit. I don't know. I really don't know. They could have been a gooch. You just don't know. People are fucking crazy. So, a resident of St. Roche neighborhood in New Orleans expresses astonishment upon discovering that Samsud implicated this fatal incident, and he was residing at the Airbnb adjacent to the residence, right? So Michael Adasco recounted that there were several law officials arrived at his door the following morning instructing him to evacuate. At 9 a.m., there was a forceful knock on the door. The police informed us everyone must leave. The entire block is being evacuated. However, upon realizing that I possessed ring footage, they actually requested that he stayed because they wanted to get that ring footage from him. And the footage revealed moments before the attack that Samsud unloaded his rented vehicle outside the Airbnb at approximately 10:02 p.m. on the Tuesday on New Year's Eve. And he noted that the camera recorded the truck idling with its lights on about an hour later. Before the police arrived, he mentioned that he was awakened around 5 a.m. by the sound of fire trucks. There are numerous factors that contribute to the fear of this situation at 5:10 a.m. And according to Adasco, he stated that he was surprised by the presence of 8 fire trucks extinguishing a blaze at a neighboring Airbnb. We had detected the smell of smoke earlier that night, but they assumed it was just a fireworks. And they actually stated that had my neighbor not been contacted on 911 at 4 a.m., they could have actually faced that fire spreading to their property. So it appears that they went back to sleep after they spoke with him because they thought, all his shit's done and dealt with, right? But that Airbnb was like tremendously up in flames, y'all. But the fire department was actually finally able to get it under control, and they were actually at that Airbnb is actually located at 1329 Mandeville Street, and it is believed that the Airbnb was rented by Samsud. There's actually footage shows that he was part of it. So authorities have not yet provided additional details regarding the fire, but they stated that he had rented the property to manufacture explosive devices in collaboration with the alleged accomplices and then set fire to the Airbnb. So they were actually able to get those two, you remember those 2 pipe bombs that were strategically placed, one on Orleans Avenue and the other one at one side of the Bourbon Street? Well, the FBI actually had able to get those and dispose of them properly. They were rendered safe on scene. There were multiple reports of additional devices, but those turned out to be either misinformed or non-functionable. They only had 2 operational devices that was recovered. So, religious leaders, along with the mayor of the city, honored the victims of recent attack by laying 14 roses, and they led into a prayer. And New Orleans State Police Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick made the following statement. In our culture here in New Orleans, music plays a significant role. A band performed Flyway, and with great respect, we proceeded down the street to pay tribute to those who lost their lives. Memories will be always remembered. The lives lost were not in vain, and they will emerge as a safer city and safer nation, ensuring that their sacrifices hold meaning. So, y'all, I wasn't expecting to go to a part 3, but we're already an hour in, and I still got shit to talk about. Because there's several people that are wondering, like, what the fuck happened to the security measures? How was he able to drive down Bourbon Street? Why was there a crane down Bourbon Street? What happened to the police officers? Were they, like, just chilling? Like, I mean, once he ran down Bourbon Street in his truck, you could see the police officers just running to the danger to see what the fuck is happening and to assist these individuals on the ground. But damn, y'all, I kid you not. I kid you not. This has always been a concern. And if you have never been to Bourbon Street, then number one, I don't recommend you go because it's just nothing but partying. But number two, I mean, it is a good experience if you have never been. But at the same time, there's really so many angles. If you watch any action movies, horror movies, whatever, there's so many angles people can get you at. And the crime rate, I don't give a damn where you at in the world, but Louisiana is leading in crime. There's so much shit happening in the world today, more or less Louisiana. Yeah, we got to do better. And where were the security measures? What are we going to do better? So that is going to be on my next episode. So there will unfortunately be a part 3, but I promise y'all I will get it done and then we'll move on to another case. However, I do want y'all to check out my Patreon because guess what? We're recording a Patreon episode. I was going to record one at the beginning of the year, the first week, but you see what had happened was there were some mishaps in my personal life. I know y'all don't care to hear about it, but I'm going to tell y'all anyways because, y'all, life has been lifing. And I just want y'all to know that regardless, like, I'm still going to do my thing with this podcast because I love it. I want these cases to be heard, and I want people to be aware of what the fuck's happening, right? In Louisiana, oh my God. But my Patreon cases, not only will you be getting the regular episodes that I do, because most of my podcast is featured on the state of Louisiana and all the crimes involved, but also my Patreon, we're going to be discussing other cases outside the state of Louisiana. So anywhere else in the world, United States, whatever, that's where my Patreon is going to be. And you can follow it at Criminalist Behavior Podcast. Also, y'all, I finally got my logo. We're about to start developing merch. I'm super excited. I got my shirt in today, even though it's like super huge. I'm like, damn, I could wear this as a nightgown. So I might do something with it to like tidy it up because that thing is huge on me. But yeah, y'all just beware. And y'all can go to the website. The website is at www.criminalist-louisianatruecrimepodcast.com. You can also visit the Patreon and it'll hook us up to the website. There's links. But yeah, you can find us on all your podcast apps. But yeah, check us out. I will definitely be posting that on social media. And I'm trying to get better with social media, y'all. I got a hectic life. I work a full-time job. I have 2 kids. I'm a single mom. And recently single because my ex of almost 5 years. Yeah, shit just wasn't working out. So that's why things have been a little chaotic for me. But I'm not gonna let that affect anything. So I might be a little late on that Patreon episode. But guess what? I'm gonna catch it up and I'm gonna make it extra special because I'm gonna do a bonus episode because I just believe my people need it, right? If you haven't already, please do subscribe to our podcast. Please rate and review us. That helps the show out greatly. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. I would love to get guests on the show. If you have any compliments on any case, if you have any comments, yeah, just let me know. But y'all, I'm super excited about the merch and I will post that. And yeah, y'all just look out for it. So if you enjoyed the show, please rate and review us, like, share, tell your friends, y'all. Tell your friends, tell your family. Yes, we want to get up there and yeah, it's not to be famous because who the fuck wants that? No, I'm just trying to get these people out there and like, I think this is a good thing and we're a year strong. We're on season 2 and I'm just so excited of all the happenings. So yeah, until then, this is your host, S2E2, and I hope y'all have a wonderful night and a great New Year's as I am transitioning to the single life, but guess what? It's only going to get better from here, right? It can't get no worse. But love y'all. Thank y'all so much. And